Continuing their confrontation, Yi Xian released his signature move. In retaliation, the vice sect leader conjured a shield. However, as Yi Xian pointed out, the elder's reaction was already too late. As Yi Xian's attack collided with the shield, a huge explosion replaced the scene. Emerging from the smoke, the vice sect leader inquired about his comrades, questioning if they were all right. The Grand Elder responded affirmatively, acknowledging the elder's help by responding quickly. However, upon shifting his attention to Jiang Yi, the elder immediately questioned Wanli about her reason for not fulfilling her promise, which had led to the current situation. In response, Wanli playfully laughed at him while clarifying her statement of only supporting them in spirit, gaining the annoyance of the elder. Prompted by Yi Xian approaching them, the elder ordered his comrades to withdraw. Despite winning the battle, Yu Tian warned that the Huan sect and the Huanshao sect were bound to make a comeback, speculating that it would be a fierce battle next time. Acknowledging the elder's statement, Yi Xian concluded that they should not fight passively as they did this time. Otherwise, they risk being destroyed by their enemies sooner or later. Yu Tian agreed, acknowledging the need for Ning Kingdom and Jiang Kingdom to prepare in advance, to which Yi Xian concurred. Approaching Yi Xian, Wanli congratulated him for reaching the cultivation level of Divine Harmony realm. In response, Yi Xian annoyingly questioned her intention for siding with Middle-earth China despite being a native of Qingzhou. Exuding confidence and a touch of smugness, Wanli revealed that she had turned the tables on those who expected her to confront Yi Xian and Tube Yen, instead orchestrating their gathering for an attack. Teasingly, Wanli inquired if Yi Xian couldn't feel her painstaking efforts. In response, Yi Xian acknowledged her and questioned if she was going to join forces with him. Wanli agreed, and Yi Xian invited her to come with him to discuss a plan. Watching from the back, Yu Tian commented on Yi Xian's impressive progress, highlighting his rapid advancement in strength. Concurring with this statement, Feng Lan speculated about the future balance of power in Middle-earth China due to their dean's growing capabilities. Outside the imperial capital of the Ning Kingdom, the vice sect leader and the Grand Elder took a moment to regroup. With no pursuers in sight, they seized the opportunity to deliberate on recent events. The vice sect leader, with a tone of both awe and concern, remarked on Yi Xian's extraordinary prowess, deeming him monstrously powerful. The Grand Elder concurred, voicing his apprehension about the considerable challenge Yi Xian posed to their plans. Sensing the gravity of the threat, the vice sect leader proposed calling for reinforcements. He emphasized the critical role of those on the demon list of Middle-earth China. Hearing this, the Grand Elder pointed out the difficulty of pleasing the top 10 individuals on the demon list. In response, the vice sect leader inquired if the Grand Elder had ever heard of the Holy Maiden of the Northern Cold Sect. The Grand Elder confirmed that he had, recognizing her as the youngest among the notable demons of Middle-earth China. He then posed a question about whether the Huan sect could extend an invitation to her. In response, the vice sect elder revealed that the Northern Cold Sect was indebted to the previous sect leader of the Huan sect. He believed that if the Huan sect were to call upon this favor to extend an invitation, it should not pose much of a problem. He voiced his disbelief that Yi Xian is more terrifying than the Holy Maiden of the Northern Cold Sect. Meanwhile, inside a traditional room, after sipping on her tea, Wanli commented on its quality with a look of distaste, mentioning its bitterness. Cutting straight to the point, Yi Xian suggested that they proceed with the topic. In response, Wanli outlined the drastic changes that have befallen the Qing Kong realm due to the actions of Yi Xian's master. She mentioned the significant damage to Qingzhou, where spiritual energy is rapidly vanishing. She also mentioned the chaos brought by invaders from Middle-earth China who, after entering Qingzhou, caused destruction and plundered without restraint. She pointed out that these invaders possess formidable strength, concluding that completely eradicating them will be a daunting task. She believes that saving Qingzhou requires a strategy that tackles the problem on two fronts. Listening intently, Yi Xian prompted her to continue. Miss Lian then outlined a two-part strategy to address the crisis in Qingzhou. First, she suggested locating and restoring the spiritual veins to revive the land's original energy. Second, she emphasized the importance of soothing the distressed population and eliminating the enemies. Hearing this, Yi Xian expressed his surprise that Wanli wanted to save the entirety of Qingzhou. Wanli explained that if they do nothing, Qingzhou would be considered a hell on earth in at most 1 month. Listening to this, Yi Xian internally contemplated the situation in the Ning kingdom, realizing that it would indeed become a hell on earth if he didn't intervene. Realizing the gravity of the task, Yi Xian asserted that relying solely on his efforts and those of the Great Cloud Empire would be insufficient. Only by joining forces and working together can Qinzhou be restored to peace. Hearing this, Wanli asked if Yi Xian is indeed planning to unite everyone in Qinzhou. Yi Xian confirmed this, explaining that even if some of these forces are small, together they can become a formidable force. Furthermore, he pointed out that if they don't unite, it's very likely that they will join the powerhouses of Middle-earth China in causing trouble, which would make the situation even more difficult to handle. Miss Lian agreed with Yi Xian's assessment, finding his argument logical and sound. She disclosed that she has already taken proactive steps by sending people to search for spiritual veins and has inquired about the origin of Qinzhou. She confidently asserted that with sufficient spiritual veins, the origin of Qinzhou could be repaired. However, she revealed that it would require at least hundreds of top-quality spiritual veins. Hearing this, Yi Xian couldn't hide his surprise. The atmosphere lightened as Wanli admitted with a playful expression that she was just joking. She then handed out a ring, stating that it was for him. Before Yi Xian could get an answer to his question, Wanli suddenly took her leave. Inspecting the storage ring, Yi Xian wondered aloud why Wanli had left so abruptly without saying anything. Following this, the fifth-floor master arrived, mentioning that he had good news. He revealed that the previous ring Yi Xian had entrusted to him was worth a total of 650 million top-grade spirit stones. Yi Xian thanked him in response. However, the elder mentioned that he also had some bad news. Yi Xian inquired what it was, and the elder relayed that the Qin Kong realm might become a dead state within a month at most. He speculated that the powerhouses in Middle-earth China would then come to Qinzhou, and the World Protector Alliance would completely abandon Qinzhou and the Qin Kong realm. The elder advised Yi Xian, instructing him to make early plans if he couldn't let go of the Jiang Kingdom, Ning Kingdom, and Kanglin Academy. This prompted Yi Xian to question how the Qin Kong realm could be in such a state. In response, the elder explained that the most powerful forces there not only failed to protect the Qin Kong realm but also actively plundered the local resources, noting that they were even worse than the people from Middle-earth China. The elder continued his critique, particularly targeting the Kanglin College for searching for resources and then shamelessly returning to Middle-earth China with their elite disciples. He predicted that if Yi Xian and the Great Cloud Empire continued in this manner, Qinzhou would be reduced to a dead state within half a month. In response, Yi Xian reassured the elder, stating that his Kanglin Academy was different. Although he admitted to being greedy for money, he explained that he still maintained a bottom line in his life and work. He then asked the elder to purchase a batch of true-level spiritual tools, weapons, and armor on his behalf. Agreeing to this, the older man joyously declared that he would return in 5 days, to which Yi Xian agreed. Changing the scene to the northern cold Sect palace, the vice-sect elder of the Huan sect commented on the coldness of the place. As the elder waited outside, a woman suddenly appeared, questioning the elder about his purpose for visiting. In response, the elder requested the holy maiden of the northern cold sect to assist his Huan sect in eliminating someone in Qinzhou. Upon hearing this, the woman asked if he was referring to the barbarian lands, to which the elder confirmed. The woman accepted his request, acknowledging the favor that they owed. However, she pointed out that if he wanted to invite the holy maiden, he should also consider the personal opinion of the holy maiden. At this moment, a sudden voice inquiring about Qinzhou attracted the elder's attention. The woman responded to the question, confirming that the destination was indeed Qinzhou, and then asked the holy maiden for her opinion on the matter. In response, Ying inquired about the benefits, prompting the elder to take out a blue-colored cube, explaining that it was a small gift prepared by the Huan sect for her, which is 50 million spirit stones. Agreeing to the request, Ying took the gift from the elder, internally concluding that she could buy a true-level middle-grade sword for her brother with a 50 million spirit stone. Meanwhile, in a scene glowing with golden light, Yi Xian immersed himself in the process of absorbing 3 glowing swords. As these swords integrated into his being, Yi Xian sighed in relief. After successfully absorbing the 3 swords that Wanli had given him, Yi Xian reflected on the Lingxiu sword's progression to the highest grade of the true rank. He contemplated the need for further improvement, recognizing that it isn't just about devouring more swords. A transformation of the Linxiu sword itself is necessary. He pondered the dilemma that without change, it would be futile to absorb more true-level swords. With a thoughtful expression, he wondered about the next steps to take, acknowledging that a solution needs to be found for the sword's advancement. Amidst this contemplation, a voice suddenly announced that something had happened to the Jiang kingdom. Yi Xian inquired about what it was, and the ninth princess relayed that some mysterious people rushed into the hinterland of the Jiang kingdom. She revealed that there was no one alive wherever they passed, and even the two-world city could not escape. Concerned, Yi Xian advised to go and investigate. A day later, in the two-world city within the Jiang kingdom, Yi Xian and the ninth princess returned to a grim scene. Surveying the aftermath of the incident, the ninth princess concluded that everyone had died almost the same way, while Yi Xian instructed her to look for any survivors. As she inspected further, she remarked that their hearts were missing. Shocked by the brutality, Yi Xian couldn't help but exclaim about the cruelty of the perpetrators. In the midst of their investigation, a hostage, carried by a captor, pleaded desperately for their life, crying out with the hope of being spared. As the hostage continued to beg for help, the captor declared that the Blood Sect was conducting its business and demanded that idle bystanders keep their distance. Hearing this, the ninth princess denounced the captor's actions as hateful. Yi Xian stepped forward, offering 1,000,000 spiritual stones in exchange for the child's safety. In response, the captor laughed at Yi Xian's offer. He then lifted the hostage by the neck, gripping tightly as he questioned if Yi Xian also had a fondness for children. With a twisted sense of generosity, the captor broke the hostage's neck and callously tossed the lifeless body towards Yi Xian, as if presenting a gift. In the next moment, Yi Xian unleashed his sword intent, making the captor realize the imminent threat. Intensified by the power of his sword and his sword intent, Yi Xian channeled it into a powerful swing, releasing a slash of qi that effortlessly cut the captor in half. In his final moments, the captor revealed his identity as the grandson of the vice sect master of the Blood Sect, threatening that their sect would retaliate against Yi Xian's entire family before collapsing to the ground. Gazing at the grim outcome, Yi Xian closed the victim's eyes. The ninth princess, concerned about Yi Xian, called his name. With a resolute and pained expression, Yi Xian made a solemn vow, swearing that he would never share the sky with the Blood Sect. Moments later, Yi Xian paused to reminisce about a seemingly small but significant memory. He recalled a time when he and Linger had first arrived in the city and shared a simple meal of noodles, acknowledging that such simple pleasures may never be experienced again due to the city's destruction. Amidst this reflection, a voice from behind addressed Yi Xian, referring to the rumors of him being second only to Lang Shu in terms of fearsomeness within Qingzhou's younger generation. Acknowledging Yi Xian's reputation, the man identified as Shu Li expressed his desire to avoid provocation, but he clarified that this was not out of fear. Proposing neutrality, Shu Li suggested that if Yi Xian turned a blind eye to their actions, the Blood Sect would not consider him an enemy. However, the ninth princess immediately rejected the idea of ignoring their atrocities. With a condescending tone, Shu Li advised the ninth princess to be silent, emphasizing that he was speaking to Yi Xian, not her. He then proposed a non-aggression pact to Yi Xian. However, with a look of disgust and anger, Yi Xian dismissed the Blood Sect member's offer, declaring that he found every word spoken repulsive. Swift and decisive, Yi Xian launched an attack, prompting Shu Li to counter with an attack of his own. As the smoke cleared, Shu Li's defeat became evident as he emerged with an injured hand, cursing at Yi Xian. In the midst of the confrontation, the vice sect leader appeared, his tone mocking as he reminded Shu Li of a previous conversation regarding an alliance, noting that Shu Li had yet to respond to his offer. The elder inquired about Shu Li's current thoughts on the proposal. Visibly irritated by the situation, Shu Li begrudgingly agreed to cooperate, suggesting that they should first get rid of Yi Xian and discuss the rest later. The elder acknowledged his answer, agreeing that removing Yi Xian was the first priority. Despite acknowledging Yi Xian's formidable reputation, the elder pointed out that there are also people who are more formidable than him. With a smug expression directed at Yi Xian, the elder introduced the person he personally invited, the Holy Maiden herself. Recognizing her sister, Yi Xian called out to Yi Ling. Yi Ling, with eyes sparkling with recognition and joy, responded to Yi Xian's call with equal warmth. Sharing a heartfelt reunion, Yi Xian and Yi Ling expressed the joy of seeing each other again after a long separation. However, realizing the extreme coldness emanating from her, Yi Xian voiced his surprise, prompting a troubled expression from Yi Ling as she voiced that it was unintentional. Despite the discomfort, Yi Xian dismissed the coldness, assuring Yi Ling with a smile that he was fine. He expressed his happiness at her return, emphasizing how much he had missed her. In response, Yi Ling affirmed her affection, stating that she had missed him too. Witnessing their reunion, the elder expressed shock and disbelief, while Shu Li berated him for actually inviting the sister of their enemy. Puzzled by this turn of events, the elder questioned the Holy Maiden, wondering how she could be both the Holy Maiden of the Northern Cold Sect and Yi Xian's sister. In response, Yi Ling asserted that there was no reason for disbelief as she was indeed Yi Xian's sister, introducing herself by her name, Yi Ling. Clasping her hands together, Yi Ling demonstrated her powers by forming ice crystals around her, admonishing the duo for daring to target her brother's life, deeming such intentions as audacious and unforgivable. Witnessing her display of power, Shu Li gasped in surprise upon realizing it was a heavenly martial art, while the elder expressed his frustration as the ice crystals met his barrier, causing a huge explosion of cold smoke upon impact. Angered by the turn of events, Shu Li chastised the elder for inadvertently seeking reinforcements from the enemy. The elder, shivering in the cold, reasoned that it was already too late for regrets, and suggested they think of a way to withdraw first. Addressing her companions, Yi Ling commanded that no one should be left alive. However, her subordinates advised her to exercise restraint towards the elder due to his past kindness to their sect. Despite this, she insisted that if they were unwilling to act, she would handle it herself. Observing his sister's determination, Yi Xian internally expressed his admiration for her. In a critical turn of events, Shu Li addressed Yi Ling, asserting that his sect had no desire to be enemies with the Northern Cold Sect. However, Yi Ling remained firm and resolute, declaring that anyone who was an enemy of her brother was also an enemy of hers. As her powers intensified around her, the elders shivered in the extreme cold, while Shu Li ordered everyone to retreat. Joining the fray with 2 consecutive slashes, Yi Xian instantly decimated the two, sending the rest scrambling in retreat. However, Yi Ling stood poised and declared that escape was not an option for their enemies. At that moment, an elderly figure intercepted her attack, cautioning Yi Ling against recklessness. Yi Ling questioned the elder, referred to as Granny Ling, about whether she intended to stop her as well. In response, Granny Ling reassured Yi Ling that the Northern Cold Sect would always support her, but she cautioned her against pursuing the deceitful and sly members of the Blood Sect, implying that they were not worth the chase. Yi Ling responded with a simple "oh," indicating her reluctance. Observing this, Yi Xian reminded his sister to be polite. Yi Ling acknowledged the reminder, expressing her gratitude to the Northern Cold Sect for their past aid. She recalled how they had cured her of sickness and imparted the skills she now possessed, emphasizing that she would never forget their kindness. Yi Ling expressed her appreciation for the Northern Cold Sect's treatment, promising to keep it in her heart and not to act rashly in the future. Granny Ling acknowledged Yi Ling's capacity for learning and growth. The elder then questioned whether Yi Xian was indeed Yi Ling's brother, to which he confirmed. The elder admitted that she had previously heard of him and expressed her surprise upon meeting him today. She commended his exceptional talent and conduct, stating that his actions were not inferior to his talent. She remarked that it was a blessing for both Yi Ling and the Northern Cold Sect to have someone like him. Yi Xian humbly replied, modestly remarking that she was overpraising him. Upon hearing this, the elder mentioned that modesty was not necessary for the young, but suggested it was time to take Yi Ling back with her. However, Yi Ling interjected, expressing her desire to stay with her brother. In response, the elder cautioned her that she had not yet fully subdued the sacred relic within her body, asserting that she needed to return to the Northern Cold Sect to ensure her safety. Puzzled, Yi Xian inquired about the sacred relic that she mentioned. In response, the elder elaborated that Yi Ling was recognized by the sect's primary sacred relic, which had not acknowledged anyone else for a century. She emphasized that if Yi Ling could fully control it, her cultivation would significantly advance. The elder concluded that there must be a beginning and an end, indicating her responsibility to ensure Yi Ling's return to the Northern Cold Sect. However, Yi Ling resisted, declaring her desire to stay with her brother. Yi Xian then interjected, reminding Yi Ling that by subduing the sacred object within her, she would grow stronger. He pointed out that the stronger she becomes, the more she would be able to help him. He proposed a compromise, suggesting that once he finished his current task, he would visit her in Middle-earth China. Yi Ling insisted on a brief separation from the sect, promising to return after a single day so she could spend time with her brother. Yi Xian agreed to this arrangement, allowing her just one day. Upon agreeing, the siblings shared a hug, during which Yi Xian commented on the intense coldness emanating from Yi Ling. Later, Yi Ling expressed her desire to hear her brother's stories, to which Yi Xian gladly obliged. He narrated a tale about a mountain with a temple on it, home to an old monk and a young monk. As the story concluded and the new day dawned, Yi Ling parted from her brother, requesting him to visit her in the northern cold sect. Yi Xian responded affirmatively, feeling hopeful that one day he would achieve such stature that they would never have to be separated again. Upon returning to Kanglin Academy, Yi Xian announced his arrival, only to be greeted by the training Bai Zai. Curious, Yi Xian inquired why he was alone. Bai Zai suddenly approached him, informing Yi Xian that he had been waiting for him. Perplexed by Bai Zai's unusual behavior, Yi Xian asked what he was doing, to which Bai Zai gestured for him to be quiet and instructed him not to speak. Following this exchange, Bai Zai playfully insisted that Yi Xian accompany him, leading to a panicked protest from Yi Xian, who asserted that he wasn't into that stuff, as Bai Zai pulled him towards a dark room. However, as they opened the door, Yi Xian was greeted with a joyous surprise from Anji and Mu Yun, a celebration of his birthday. Surprised by the unexpected birthday celebration, Yi Xian blushed as he questioned how they knew. In response, Mu Yun informed him that Anji had recorded the birth date of each of them in a book. Contrary to her usual fierce image, Mu Yun whispered that Anji was actually quite caring, prompting Yi Xian to caution Mu Yun that Anji might hear him. Hearing this, Anji intimidatingly questioned Mu Yun about his comment. In an attempt to make an excuse, Mu Yun complimented Anji, calling her the most gentle, kind, and caring sister in the world. He then invited them to try his braised pork, prompting Yi Xian to remark that it looked good. However, upon trying the dish, Yi Xian and the others immediately vomited on the spot, prompting Mu Yun to question whether it was indeed that bad. Later on in a new location, the 9th princess presented 10 individuals, specially chosen by Tuba Yan and herself, to Yi Xian, who simply acknowledged the gesture. Yi Xian then formally welcomed the individuals to the Kanglin Academy. Subsequently, Yi Xian addressed the assembled individuals, declaring that from that day forward, they would be part of the Kanglin Academy. He then presented them with a new challenge, stating that their goal was to become the strongest Taoist soldiers in Qingzhou. He inquired about their confidence in achieving this feat. In unison, the group answered with a resounding yes. Yi Xian instructed Xiao Jiu to arrange for Master Lu to train these 10 individuals personally. Xiao Jiu acknowledged the instruction, stating she would organize the details accordingly. Yi Xian then took out a box containing a storage ring, revealing that it housed the top-quality spiritual vein. He suggested that placing it within Kanglin Academy would help maintain the stability of the Jiang Kingdom for the time being. The 9th princess agreed, emphasizing the importance of sufficient spiritual energy in ensuring the morale and steadiness of their forces. With their plan in place, the 9th princess announced her decision to depart and attend to the necessary preparations. She highlighted that the significance of the event warranted immediate attention and could not be delayed. Yi Xian concurred with her decision. As the 9th princess instructed the group to accompany her, Yi Xian internally reflected on the depletion of spiritual energy, acknowledging that it was his master's fault. He concluded that the infusion of the new spiritual vein would serve as a compensatory measure. Following this, Wanli arrived and commented on Yi Xian's ability to order around a royal princess, concluding that he was indeed talented. In response, Yi Xian inquired about her purpose of visit. Wanli recounted Yi Xian's achievements, stating that after he had repelled the Blood Sect and the Huan Sect, the Jiang Kingdom was now stable. She also mentioned her own feats, claiming to have killed more than 300 Middle-earth China powerhouses in the Great Cloud Territory, contributing to the stabilization of Qingzhou. She then addressed a lingering issue, the damage to the origin of the Qingzhou's spiritual vein. She explained that to repair it, a superior spiritual vein was needed, one that was only available in Middle-earth China. Yi Xian sought clarification, asking if the intended course of action was to go to Middle-earth China. Wanli confirmed this but noted that it was necessary first to defend against powerhouses from Middle-earth China and the Qin Kang realm. Yi Xian then questioned the role of the Protectorate Alliance, inquiring whether they were unconcerned about the powerhouses crossing borders to commit robberies. Wanli replied, indicating that, as far as she knew, a monster had recently been causing trouble for the Protectorate Alliance. The princess questioned Yi Xian if he was aware of the name of the monster they were referring to. Somewhat perplexed, Yi Xian responded that he had no knowledge of it. Wanli paused briefly before revealing that the monster in question was known as Yi Xian. Hearing this, Yi Xian expressed frustration, questioning who was using his name, which he believed was the reason he was making more enemies. This prompted Wanli to question if he really didn't know. Yi Xian insisted that he truly had no idea. However, he paused mid-sentence as a realization seemed to strike him. Internally, he speculated if the alleged monster could actually be the god on the second floor. He pondered the likelihood of this god having a conflict with the Protectorate Alliance, and wondered why his name was being reported in connection with the trouble, concluding that it was bringing him unnecessary problems. Following this, Azwa approached the princess, informing her that she had received information indicating the powerhouses from the Qin Kang realm would arrive at Wanqiu Mountain within 2 days. Upon hearing this, the princess immediately turned to Yi Xian, instructing him to bring his people to Wanqiu Mountain without delay. Seemingly contemplating the situation, Yi Xian remained silent, offering no immediate response. Changing the scene to the Blood Sect of the Middle-earth China, the Blood Sect master, who was introduced as Shuiyu, addressed the gathered group, visibly angered as he reported a significant loss to their sect. He announced that their elder was recently killed, and more than 30 elite disciples have been slaughtered. He dramatically added that their heads were hung on the city wall, and their corpses were left in the wilderness. One of the sect elders also mentioned the young individual, possibly his grandson, who also died tragically at the hands of Yi Xian. The other disciples echoed the call for vengeance with intense fervor, unanimously agreeing that Yi Xian must be killed for his actions against their sect. Prompted by their reaction, Shuiyu questioned his followers about their knowledge of Yi Xian. In response, the elders shared that his knowledge of Yi Xian was limited to the fact that he was a barbarian from Qingzhou. Disagreeing with the elders' characterization of Yi Xian as a barbarian, Shuiyu emphasized Yi Xian's formidable prowess. He explained that despite being less than 20 years old, Yi Xian had managed to kill those in the Dharma realm, even though he was only at the level of Divine Harmony realm. Hearing this, the elder expressed his disbelief, finding it hard to believe. Contemplating the situation, Shuiyu resolved that while their need for revenge was necessary, they should not act rashly against Yi Xian. Shuiyu then issued a direct command, stating that he personally would go to the demon sect. He decreed that until he returned, no member of the Blood Sect was to enter Qingzhou. In response, the group unanimously voiced their obedience. Shifting the scene to the Huan sect of Middle-earth China, one of the members expressed his anger at Yi Xian for killing so many of their people, suggesting that they must not stop there. Another member agreed, emphasizing that if the other sects were to learn of their defeat by someone from Qingzhou, it would be a great embarrassment to their Huan sect. Another individual from the crowd voiced their sentiment for revenge. However, the sect master, who was introduced as Li Yuan, gave his perspective, acknowledging that even though Kongmu Academy is much stronger than the Huan sect, they too have been unable to defeat Yi Xian. In response, the previous individual angrily questioned Li Yuan if that was the end of it, to which Li Yuan responded by warning that if they continued their pursuit of Yi Xian, it could result in the total annihilation of their Huan sect. The individual insisted on his stance, but Li Yuan dismissed any further arguments. Li Yuan then issued a strict command to the members of the Huan sect, forbidding them from entering Qingzhou. He stated that he would personally investigate Yi Xian before making any decisions regarding their quest for vengeance. In response, the members of the sect acknowledged the sect master's decree. Upon their arrival at Wenqiu Mountain, Wanli indicated to her group that their current location was the final barrier before Qingzhou. She asserted that their objective was to stay there and maintain their position. Subsequently, Azhua approached Wanli with a report, stating that the formidable forces from the Qing Kong realm would be arriving at Qingzhou without delay. This prompted Wanli to ask for the specific number of incoming adversaries. In a detailed briefing, Azhua enumerated the composition of the approaching forces, listing 16 at the level of the Dharma realm, 321 peak powerhouses at the level of the Divine Harmony realm, 6 first-class mercenary regiments, and numerous scattered disciples from aristocratic families. Additionally, she disclosed that among these forces was the 4th strongest person on the demon list. Upon hearing the mention of the 4th rank on the demon list, Xiaoyao expressed her shock, prompting Wanli to question what was troubling her. Evaluating the situation and making an excuse to leave, Xiaoyao commented on the unsuitability of the weather for battle and suggested finding a place to enjoy a full meal first. Similarly, Yi Xian mentioned not having had a sufficient breakfast and casually dismissed the impending confrontation as a minor annoyance that Wanli could handle. Hearing this, Wanli yelled at Yi Xian, commanding him to stop in his tracks. She issued a warning to Yi Xian, stating that should he depart and the land be scattered with corpses, he would be held responsible. She vowed to beat him so fiercely that his own mother would fail to recognize him. Confronted with Wanli's wrath, Yi Xian acknowledged his mistake. Witnesses to the scene, Mu Yun looked on in bewilderment, noting to himself that Wanli's fierceness exceeded that of Anji, while Anji looked on with a mix of astonishment and enthusiasm, thinking to herself that Wanli's energy was admirable. Following this, Azhua informed the others about the approach of their enemies. Almost immediately after, the serene sky was broken by the appearance of numerous ships, cutting through the clouds with a display of red banners.